What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brutal Planet Comics. I'm your host, Trey the Brute Daniels. What a glorious day it is, because we have another episode of the Indie Corner, where I sit down with everybody from the independent community, writers, artists, directors, producers. Doesn't matter if you're in the game, I want to talk to you. Today we have a very, very special guest. She is the creator of Path of the Pale Rider. Give it up, everybody, for Laurie Calcaterra. yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yay! Oh, that's me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be cheering myself. Hello, everybody.
You are allowed to cheer for yourself.
It was just such a good intro. I had to.
How are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, I am very good. I'm very good. I'm staying cool in my house in Texas. It's like 102 out right now, but I'm inside and the fan's on, so I'm happy.
Ooh, gotta love the fan. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Well, first of all, before we even get started, I want to thank you so much for just taking the time during this very, very hot day to come and spend some time with me and talk about your fine work.
Of course. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I love to hear that. That warms my cold, dark heart. So, before we get into all the great stuff that you got cooking on, let's talk about you for a little bit. Who are you? Where'd you come from? How did we get here?
I'm the sleeper agent. No, I have a really weird origin story. So it actually starts with me doing martial arts for 25 years.
I like that.
So I started, I started taking Indonesian martial arts, pencak silat, back in 1997.
Wow.
And love martial arts. I've been doing it ever since.
Same. I like that. Let's go.
Been in the community for a long time. I have a lot of friends in different styles. And in about 2017, I created a fight team, so choreography team. We got involved with a production company in Detroit, and we were choreographing fight scenes for music videos and short films, etc., etc. We decided to have our own visual, like, resume, like a business card, like, hey, if you want to hire Trinity 60, this is the kind of stuff that they can do. So I wrote this short film with really no plot. It was just 7 minutes of action, right? And I'm not an actress. If you can still watch this on my YouTube. The action is great. The acting is not so great. But like, we knife fight. There's a gun disarm. I do a wall run in a stairwell. There's a lot going on, and we had a blast.
That is awesome.
The production company, yeah, it was a blast. So much work, like months and months of work for 7 minutes, Dre.
Oh my. Trust me.
Incredible amount of work.
I know the feeling. My goodness.
Mm-hmm. So the production company was like, hey, we like what you can do. Would you like to do it for us? And I started writing web content for them. And we were going to do like a series on a YouTube channel. And I wrote this series called The Agency, which was heavy martial arts, but it was like a espionage, spy versus spy. And that's where I kind of got my first taste of writing. Sweet. And then I had the idea for Path of the Pale Rider, and I was writing it under the title Dead West.
Wow.
So I wrote that as a full-length movie and then had no idea what to do with it. I don't know. So I wrote that in 2008, and some people were reading it and like encouraging me to like pitch it to Netflix, and I didn't know how to do it or if I wanted to do that. My husband read it, and he's a comic book fan. We're both comic book fans.
Nice.
But late to the game. Like, we started reading comics, I think, in our 20s, like later, like young adults.
Yeah.
He's always been a fan of Batman. And for me, kind of what got me was The Watchmen.
Really?
And we found Image Comics.
The book or the film?
Graphic novel.
Okay.
The Watchmen. Yep.
Okay.
Alan Moore. Yeah. Who's watching The Watchmen? So warped, right?
Very.
And I love that kind of stuff. So, started reading The Walking Dead and more Robert Kirkman, Invincible, Oblivion Song. Found, really more Image Comics. So, Chew, what else? Saga, Witches, all sorts of good stuff, right? So my husband read my script and was like, this is a comic book. Okay, how do I do that? So in 2020, we started looking to see what to do. And kind of had a few false starts, which is pretty common in indie comics. Had a couple of artists involved. Had one artist involved. Got another one involved to kind of help with the workflow. Ultimately, because of the pandemic and all sorts of bad luck, like a tree fell on one of their houses, something ridiculous,
Good
right?
Lord.
Yeah. So both of those gentlemen ended up falling through, but I'm still friends with the both of them. They very commonly do like variant covers for my project, or like one of them is actually designing the poker deck that we're working with. So you'll still see them. They're just not the main artist at this point.
Wow.
Took a year off. Found Marco DeFillo, who is the current interior artist. Amazing artist. And went from there. We did our first Kickstarter in 2021, I think in March to April. We've been having successful Kickstarters every time. And we do fun stuff.
That is fun. I like all of that. Let's rewind just
like, that's my origin story.
Yeah, let me rewind just a little bit. Like yourself, I'm a martial artist as well.
Are you?
Yeah, I studied
practice.
Yeah, I studied BJJ, North American Wrestling and Sambo.
Nice.
So I feel you on that. And it's I always loved being a practitioner of martial arts. I think it's one of the most freeing experiences I've ever had. It's amazing. And the community is great.
Your life.
Yeah, and the community is great, and that's and I love it. I love it. So just to touch back on, so when you were doing the running the stunt choreography and the program, do you still do that now? Are you still doing that?
We moved from Michigan to Texas in 2019, and I kind of lost my connection. Most of my friends are all in Michigan that were martial artists. I still practice. I have a teacher that was in Dallas, and him and I was training under Vico Perrine in Kali Illustrissimo, which is so deadly. It's insane. Still train with him, but for the most part, there's not really a lot of Indonesian Filipino martial arts where I'm at. It's a lot of MMA and BJJ. There's a lot, which is cool. That's what people down here want. I was teaching for a short time out of a jiu-jitsu school. I had a weapons class, but just not a lot of interest. So I was like, I'm not going to force it. It's like either people want to be there or they don't, right? Yeah. And if I don't have a membership at the time, like people aren't signed up for my class, that's fine. I just spend more time working on my comic book.
And I understand that completely because I used to train for Strike Force.
Okay.
Yeah, so I understand. Yeah, MMA is huge down there. Huge, absolutely enormous. But that's pretty cool. I mean, that's dope. Like, I don't really get to meet too many martial artists that are in the same comic field as I am. So this is a rare treat for me. There's
a few of us out there. I was interviewing, there's two gentlemen that were kickstarting at the same time, and they were both into like Chinese martial arts, like I want to say
like Wing Chun? Wushu, Wing Chun? Okay.
But both of them amazing martial artists. One was more like a teacher. The other one was more like a archivist, where he was the one that was doing like Karate Magazine and would interview these grandmasters that were too old to practice anymore. Were like passing down their skill and just super had so many stories that were really interesting. And that's kind of one of the hard realities of martial arts is that it's a person that you're learning from. And people are not immortal. We can't live forever. So it's true. Like at some point you have to stop and pass it down. And that is so hard. Hard.
It's very hard to let go. Like I'm no longer in active competitions anymore. Like those days are behind me. I got no knees left. So it's like
you should see a stick competition.
Good Lord. Oh Lord, I can
all the
imagine.
Gear they put on is so hot, you can't see, and you just beat
like
I've been to swear.
Yeah. Oh, please, by all means.
Okay, you beat the shit out of each other.
And like I'm in what I am considering trying to get myself back in competing shape, even though I'm not competing anymore. I'm like, what I've been doing, I've been eating so much collagen now just to get my tendons back, like where they need to be.
Does that help?
It does. It does. It has done wonders for me. I've been doing it for about 3 months now. Just consuming a great deal of collagen and like all my, like I still make smoothies I still eat and act like I'm about to get in the ring, but I'm just but now I'm just like, oh man, I'm just doing it for me to keep myself healthy. Because I got dreams to look like Chuck Norris when I'm 80. All right, that's my dream. I want to be Chuck Norris 80. That's my dream. So, but I still shadow box. I still do things that to keep the ticker going and keep my body looking tight. So like I'm still doing it, but now I'm just
put my aggression on fruit.
Hello, I hear that.
It's funny though because I tied it into the comic book. So I have I do this stretch goal called the slice and dice.
Ooh.
So like last campaign, we unlocked this slice and dice. So I let people vote on which weapon I would use. So I told them I'm gonna chop up a watermelon, but y'all get a say in how it goes, right? So they got to vote on which weapon. I have a couple machetes and short swords, stuff like that. And they could fill in their own suggestions. And I actually chose one of the suggestions that someone put in there, which was a lot of fun. Someone suggested a soup can in a sock.
Oh my God. You'll be beating that thing for days.
It was the funniest thing you've ever seen. But they got to vote on the weapons, and then they got to name the watermelon before I destroyed it. So the fans named the watermelon King Joffrey Baratheon.
Oh my God.
And I dressed up as Pikachu.
Why? What did Pikachu have to do with this?
Because it was so funny. To see this knife-wielding Pikachu just destroy a watermelon.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, like, slicing it into, like, 12 pieces took me 3.5 seconds. It really takes no time. But then I put, like, a piece of it, and I got the soup can in the sock, and it just went... It was the best moment. It just went everywhere.
I'm just imagining Pikachu slicing and dicing melons.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I made a TikTok at the end, and I sang the Game of Thrones song, just saying Pikachu.
So you're hitting Pika, 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 Pika. That's awesome. That might be the greatest thing I've ever heard.
So this is the kind of shenanigans we get into with my comic book. So we have fun, I engage the people, and it's like, we're a Kickstarter and we push hard, but we do a lot of fun things in between the campaigns and like getting the books out to keep people engaged.
Absolutely. Wow. That's amazing. So on that note, so you got into fandom later on, getting into Watchmen and things. So how did you transition from just being a casual fan at a later age than a lot of us did? Because I was born with a Batman comic in my hand. So it was,
were you?
so how did you transition from late fandom to actually getting into like the comic business?
It's like I said, it was like having this script and not knowing what to do with it, but reading comics actively. So this was, we started reading comics before we had kids.
Okay.
So we were young adults, married. And, when you have adult money and no kids, you spend it on all the stupid stuff you want.
Junk! Give me junk!
So we had all the comics, you know what I mean? Like I have the omnibus of The Walking Dead from start to finish, and we have all the Invincibles, and we have Fables. Right? You get all the cool stuff because you can do it when you're young and have stupid money. So we were very heavily reading comic books, but it didn't dawn on me until my husband kind of read it. I had to like get out of my own way. You know what I mean? Because when I wrote it, it's written as a script. It's a movie script. It still is to this day. When you read it, it's a script. But my husband was the one that was like, this is a comic book if you want it to be. So we did a lot of research, like how do you do it? Like how do you raise funds? Do you need an editor? Do you need can you get an artist to do all the things? Do you want it to be black and white? Do you want it to be color? How are you going to format it? Who's doing your lettering? So many questions. And then it was like, okay, I've never run a Kickstarter before. doing a lot of research into that. And still, like, when you do your first Kickstarter, no matter how much research you've done, you still have no idea what you're doing.
No clue. Not the foggiest idea.
No. And I think that actually helped me because I went into my first Kickstarter with a stupid high goal, not realizing how abnormal we were. Because typically on a first issue, you're going to raise, I don't know, 500,000.
Yeah.
1,500 maybe.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Typically you're going to see $1,000 goals.
Yeah, typically.
With a goal of 4,550.
That is something. Now, here's the question. Did you hit it, though?
Yes.
Oh, snap. Then screw it then. If it works, go nuts.
But but that was the thing. It was like blissful ignorance because I didn't realize that was a high goal I was setting for myself. I just went in, I did the math. I was like, this is how much I'll need to not only pay my artists, have it be a nice paper and format, print charges, shipping costs, all the merchandise. Like I went and put it in 4,550 was the number we needed to hit. Wow. And we hit it. I think we ended up at like 107%. We were over $5,000.
Well, if it works, go nuts.
Amazing. Amazing. And then now when I look back at it, I was like, wow, I don't know how blood, sweat, and tears, right?
Without question.
When I first started, I hired a publicist named Jeff Haas.
Okay.
Amazing publicist. And I would not have been successful had it not been for Jeff. Because he was like, I'm going to get you on as many shows as you want to get on. How many do you want to do? And I was like, how many do I need to do to get to 4,550? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, all right, well, let's do them all.
Yeah, do them all. That's the best way to do it. And that's interesting, Laurie. Like, that's very, very interesting to see how it just snowballed the right way. That's tremendous. Yeah. Me, when I first started off, I privately funded all my projects, like, back then. Like, everybody like, you're a baller. I'm like, no, it ain't like that. It's just like, I just know how to make my dollar stretch. But, I privately funded my projects. And now that I'm doing the graphic novel and all other stuff, now it's a whole different ball game. Now I'm like, okay, I did all this stuff private. I did my whole arc run privately and all this stuff. And, sales went well and all that things. But I'm like, now I'm kind of tired, so I'm gonna try to go about this a different way. I'm working with publishers, blah blah blah, trying to get the junk where it needs to be.
There's like 12 different models that you can do.
Yeah,
there's more than 12.
Yeah. It's there's so many ways to get to the exact same goal. But to see how you were able to snowball or like a trip and fall into greatness. I love it.
Like I said, it was blissfully unaware of what I was trying to accomplish, that it was abnormal. And when I accomplished it, I was like, yay, go me. And then I started, I met the community, right? So then I'm part of indie community, like on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and I'm talking to people. I'm going on these shows. And then I learned what you did was crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was nuts. But I love it. It's great. Yeah, I love it.
You get like an awakening, right? When you see other people run campaigns and you become very much a part of the community, which I did.
Yeah.
So I know a lot more, but I'm still going to claim that I'm a noob. Like people are like, oh, you know what you do. I'm like, I've been doing this for like my first book was published in 2022.
Oh, okay, right? That is relatively recent. Okay.
I met Marco DeFillo. No, I took 2021 off.
Okay.
So 2022, I met him. So we published last July was our first issue.
Oh, sweet.
Issue 2 published this spring. Issue 3 went to Kickstarter in April.
Okay.
So we're finishing up art production for issue 3 right now.
Nice.
So like a year. We've only been doing this like a year.
Hey, that's pretty good. There ain't nothing wrong with that. That's pretty good.
I still count myself as a noob, but I do my best. So.
Yeah, and I love to see that. I love to see folks that are just getting into the game, because in the indies it's not a lot of gatekeeping. So it's like, it's like whether you're new or relatively new or old timers or whatever, and whoever been around forever, we want everybody to come. We want everybody to see everybody succeed, especially with their projects and stuff, because we know the heart and soul and, like you say, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it, especially if you're not part of the big two or big three, if you throw Dark Horse in there. But you know, Dark Horse Image, you want to put them in there. It's usually just a very small operation trying to make something happen that usually multi-million and billion-dollar companies put together. So we in the indies are like, yay, do it. So that's great.
Right.
That's great. But I'm so happy.
I also find that the best stories are coming from indie right now.
That's correct. That is correct.
We're not getting regurgitated story. We're doing this Spider-Man 17 times. We're not revamping Superman. We're not doing Resident Evil on Netflix again.
Oi.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We already had an interview with a vampire, but we're doing it again. You know? So all these new, original, awesome stories are coming from indie, and they're kind of like a diamond in the rough. They might not be all the way refined, but the potential is there.
And that's the part
what
that's
I'm
important.
there for.
And that's the part that's important, because the IPs that's been around for 60, 70, 80 years, they're dead. It's the reality of the situation. It's, as I like to call it, the modern professional big two, big three, whatever. At this point, they're creatively bankrupt. At this point, creatively, it is what it is. But the indies is where all the creativity is coming from. That's where because that's like all the stories that we had in our heads when we were kids, and now we actually have the wherewithal and the money to actually put it on paper that people have never heard of or seen before, or a different take of an idea that may never have been realized by the big pros. So that's why it's so much intrigue with independent creators. Like behind my green screen, there's a big old shelf behind me that's full of my collection of comics over the decades and all that other stuff. And now I'm able to have a whole section just for indies that I have here. Just indies, just indie, because that's where all these new creative stories are coming from. Yeah. Because like when you've been around and reading comics since decades, you know, you're like, you've seen pretty much everything as far as tropes, story arcs. Like, you've seen everything. But when you see a take that feels fresh as an apple off the tree, you're like, oh wow, okay, allow me to peruse, and then you're rolled up into it by then. And that's the only feelings I get that is with reading new indie material, which of course I guess I'm spoiled because I've read pretty much everything. So it's like, you know, so it's like oh, this feels good and fresh and new. And even though there could be like there's no new genres, they don't exist anymore. There's no new genres. Right. But you can take an older genre that's been around forever and a day, put a unique spin on it or a slant on it. Exactly. That's exactly what you guys did with Path of the Pale Rider. And 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 when I took a gander at this, I really liked it. Now I don't need to go into spoilers. No need for all that.
Don't spoil anything, but we can talk about plot stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No need for spoilers. But but the idea of the trope of the stranger, of the stranger, has been around since westerns and all that other stuff. Heck, you can go back to Japanese films. Like it's been around forever. Right. And the idea that you've all melded here, I think it's really good. So the question I did have for you was, what was your motivation, or creatively, what inspired you to kind of make this hybrid post-apocalyptic western?
So, okay, I love horror movies. I love sci-fi. I love westerns. Basically, sitting on the couch with my pops watching movies. Yeah. We watch Star Trek, Star Wars, anything Clint Eastwood. You know what I mean? So, and if you think about it, a western is kind of an apocalypse story. So we have post-apocalypse where things have broken down, but in a western, things haven't been evolved yet. So you're kind of in the same situation. maybe not a reliable food source. People are wearing the same clothes. Transportation is with horses because there is no gasoline powered vehicles. Maybe there's a train, but people are cutthroat. It could be lawless. So that's kind of like post-apocalyptic, but in the West, with a cowboy hat.
Never thought about it that way, but you're right. You're absolutely correct.
I kind of dawned on me just this year. I was like, why do I like Westerns so much? Because I love apocalypse and I love like zombie tropes and like things, because I think it puts people in a crucible. They're under pressure and they're, heated to 100 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they have to make decisions on the fly that maybe they wouldn't have to in their real life. And it's just really a tough situation where you get to know a person based off of their decisions in the apocalypse, right? And that's really what we want to know in the story is who is this person, what's going on, and how are they going to react to it, right? That's the core of the story. So what I did is I took the pieces that I liked, where I was like, all right, I like Westerns and I like zombies. Let's put them together. What's that? No, but then we took the zombie trope and we twisted that too.
Yes.
So death is the problem in this story. Death is the antagonist because it's missing. There is no death. Your body can quote unquote die, but it just decays and you're still you.
Yeah.
So you're in there losing your memories, losing your function, becoming chaotic, maybe being violent. It's like having dementia and fast forward.
Yeah. And that's an interesting way of putting it as well. Because I was going through it and there's a particular scene, not going to go into it, but in the first issue, that my heart kind of broke a little bit, and because I found myself getting invested pretty quickly in one of the characters that was there. And I was sitting there, I was like, why do I care so much?
Why do you care?
I was like, why do I care? I'm like, I shouldn't, but I do. And like,
you do.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, all right. Obviously something has been written properly for me to actually be invested in this.
Thank you.
So kudos, tip my do-rag to you. That was very good, especially with the nature of the quest. So I found myself very intrigued by this story arc, because like any other viewing public, you're the writer, so you know where everything is going on, obviously. But as far as the viewing public is concerned, they're like, okay, what's going on? Why?
Right.
Where are we trying to go? So if you're able to implant those type of questions in this type of a quest, you're doing something right.
Thank you.
Because I've seen and heck reviewed all types of post-apocalyptic books over the years, and some of them are pretty. It's a virus. It's a chance for survival and all stuff. Like this has a mystery arc to it.
Yes.
And I find myself intrigued by like, okay, we're trying to find a particular whatever MacGuffin or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But why? What is our main character trying to accomplish?
Right.
So I'm invested in seeing where that goes. So as far as writing is concerned, you've done a very good job with implementing those type of tropes, even though they're not new tropes, but you found a way to tell them in a unique way. So that is really, really good. So I found myself very, very invested.
Just you wait till the next one.
So that was cool.
Issues 1 and 2. Now, if we were watching this as a movie, right?
Okay, sure.
You would start out like, oh, it's a Western. And then you get to this scene on the cliff and you're like, something else is going on, right?
Exactly.
And then you find out, kind of what this character is, who or what he's looking for. So we know he's on a mission. And we also see things that would tell us we're not in the past West, we're in the future West, right? So if you're watching the movie, you start out with basically very limited information. And then as it goes through like issue 1, it's filling you in that something has happened and it's catastrophic, but we don't know what. And our character is trying to figure it out. Issue number 2, we drop him into a community. So you get to see him interact with people, alive people.
Yeah.
But there's also undead people in the background, which is, and in my world, that's even worse because like page 1 of issue 2, he's walking into this town called Santa Claus,
yes,
which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's a terrifying place. And they have undead people staked outside the front. Now, if it was a typical zombie trope, it would be like, okay, they're just staking. No, these people have feelings.
Yeah.
And they can talk to you.
Yeah.
And they've staked these people outside of their wall as a warning. So it's a lot different than your typical zombie when you look at this world and how it functions.
Exactly.
But it's just as dangerous in this town as it was in the last issue when he was in the wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Based off of what happens. But again, he still has this agenda. So he does stuff in the issue to make it exciting based off of what he's trying to do.
Exactly.
Issue number 3, we actually time jump to the day 1 the apocalypse happens. So we go back in time and you get to see the kind of unrest, the confusion. And then I bring up all these things that are happening because death being broken, like food source, water source, ethical problems. Do the undead have rights? Should they be driving? Should they be voting? Can they have firearms?
Those are ethical issues, that's for sure. Yeah.
Can they own property? So what happens if you're the head of house and you have children and you die? They kick you out of the house. Where do your kids go? Where do you go?
It's a good question.
Right?
Wow. Ethical dilemmas? Laurie, darn it.
I know.
Are you telling me that you're a genius? Is that what you're telling me? Secretly, you're a genius? Is that what's happening
There's a
here?
lot going on. And that's a great segue because there is so much going on in these stories. There's other things besides the comic that we do because the world is so big. So I spent so much time world building and exploring all these crazy things that can happen. If it's not happening in the comic, because again, the comic is told from a first person point of view. We're following Jude St. Clair through the story. So if it's happening somewhere in the world where Jude St. Clair is not, you don't get to see it in the comic.
Makes sense.
So I created a couple different vehicles for people to explore the world of Path of the Pale Rider outside the comic.
All right, sweet. Lay it on me.
I craft a riddle on the back cover of every issue. Let me see if I can get it in focus. Dang it.
Technology.
There we go.
Here we go.
All
That'll
right,
do.
so here's issue 1. There's a riddle on the back to solve. Okay, if you solve this, it'll take you to a place in the real world digitally. This one, issue 2, you solve this one, it will trigger something to happen. Well, you'll get something in the mail from one of my characters. Like
wow.
So you actually get to interact with the world and interact with other people solving riddles. Okay. I have all sorts of things planned, like websites to hack, phone numbers to call. I have ciphers and Morse code and all sorts of things. Like the next one is actually pretty easy, but it's hilarious. And it deals with the short film that we put together for issue number 3. So riddles and then the short film. So I have fan interactive short films. So since I come from production and we were working in the production company, I write these, I don't know, 2 to 7, maybe 10 minutes max short films where the fans can participate in them. So they can either show up on location, they can email me footage, or in my last one, they could just take a still picture of themselves pretending to be dead. Like, here, lie on the floor, face down, and have someone take your picture and then send it to me, right? So I have like a montage at the end of the short film where the fans are in it. Wow. It's really neat. But we tackle things like the first short film is a commercial for the undead retirement community, where, quote unquote, you go after you die so you can live out your undead years and not be a threat to the living. So it was a commercial for that. And then the second one, we did a news report where I dressed up as a reporter and I was interviewing the fans, asking them, what do you think broke the death process? And people could say whatever they wanted because we're so early in the story, nobody knows what happened.
That's
so we
true.
got aliens and food and sugar, government, so we got really believable stuff, virus, vaccines, genetic, and then we got crazy stuff like voodoo pygmies. So I mean, it put it all in there because it was really fun. But it was just a lot of work, but it everybody gets to participate and they have a blast. The third one I did was a short film about like psychological horror. About because where we are in the story, we went back in time and like society is breaking down. The undead are now fighting back. Right.
Wow.
So we did one where it's like there was a dinner party and there's all these people doing like mundane tasks, and then something happens and then there's chaos to all of these people. You have to go see it. I mean, again, I'm not a professional film producer. You're going to get what you get, but it's an interesting concept and I love putting the fans in it. They have a blast.
Wow.
So I'm so busy.
That is dope. That's top tier dope. I like that. That's really cool. Wow. And that's a very unique and meta way to grow your world, expand your universe, as it were, without going through the negative trope, as I'd like to say, of needless exposition. Right. So that's actually very good. I like that. That's pretty smart.
It's funny because a lot of times we'll do a short film, we'll jump around in time. Well, again, we jump around in time in the comic book too, but it makes sense what we're doing. Yeah. So like the second short film, we did the conspiracy theories, right? And now in issue 3, when we get to that time, because we've jumped back in time and Jude is experiencing it for the first time, you get to see the reporter that we use, the actor, is in the book.
Clever
so it ties
Fox.
It all together. It's so fun.
That is really, really cool. That's really cool. Wow, Laurie, that is impressive. I'm a hard man to impress, and you have definitely impressed me. That's incredible. That's incredible. So, Laurie, where can folks find you and get all your wonderful books? Where can they get all the stuff you got cooking up?
Well, I have a website where you can purchase everything directly from me if you choose. It's just www.pathofthepalerider.com. My books are carried by my publisher in their store called Pastime Comics. But if you look up chartercomics.com, you can purchase from the website there. I also have a distributor you and I are familiar with, Any One World. It's ASAP Imagination is the publisher. Any One World is awesome because it pulls together all these indie creators from all over the world, and those are digital, so you can get those anywhere, anytime. Just click the button, you can download Path of the Pale Rider right to your device and start reading it. So right now, Any One World has issues 1 and 2. When 3 is done, 3 will be uploaded, and I'm going to upload the Choose Your Own Adventure book, which I wrote as well.
Very good.
This is a lot of fun, Trey. I don't know if you've ever done. Do you ever read Choose Your Own Adventure?
Oh yeah.
I'm that kid too, right? I mean, born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. We read Choose Your Own Adventure. This is the Choose Your Own Adventure book for adults because I kill you in the most disgusting, destructive way. But it's so much fun.
Yeah, always.
So you get to put on the hat and the boots and you get to like run bounties. And here's, zoom it in without it distorting. This is called Skinner. I love creating new characters. And the cool part is these characters show up in the main story later. So you as the reader will now have more insight about these characters. And then when you see them show up in the story, you're going to be like, Jude, run. You know what I mean? Because that's the Skinner, and the Skinner's a badass MFer. There's gruesome deaths, there's twists and turns. You can become undead and keep going. It's a lot of fun.
That does sound pretty dope. That is awesome.
Again, it's just another way to enrich the world and experience Path of the Pale Rider. You get to walk around and make decisions, though, and see how long you survive. Yeah,
how long you'll go. I'm pretty sure I won't last but so long. I'll get dysentery instantly. That's just how it is. Won't take long.
You died of dysentery and zombies.
Exactly. I'll be done for. But that is tremendous. All of that is wonderful. Your work is beautiful. I love the story.
Great artist.
Yeah. I love the art. I love the story. I love the way you're expanding this universe. All of this is absolutely tremendous, and I wish you nothing but the utmost success in this endeavor, because I think this is really good, and it's really dope. I really like that. So I'm going to leave all the links of Laurie's great work in the description section below. Follow her on all her dope social media platforms and the whole 9 yards.
Everything.
Everything. Just everything that's down there, just click it. Just do it. Just get everything that she's got going on. Because she's doing, as I love to say on this joint, the Lord's work. Because it's tremendous. I love it.
Thank you.
So everybody, that there is Laurie. And who am I? I'm Dre, the Brute Daniels. Follow me on all my dope social media platforms as well. I'll put them right under my face. They're not there yet, but they will be at the Brute00 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I feel like being silly on TikTok. And do all those great YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. This has been the Indie Corner. You all have been awesome, and I'll catch you all next time. Also, if you want to support my channel, check out spinwiz.com or download the Spinwiz app and check out my comic series, Trouble. It was written with a lot of love, and it was definitely my favorite comic series to write. I've also written it in English and in Spanish, so whatever floats your boat, I got it for you. Thanks again, and check it out.